Her Excellency Baleka Mbete. The Executive Governor of Lagos State, His Excellency Mr. Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu, CON. Representing the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, the Honorable Minister, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, MFR. The President and Chairman of the Board of Directors of Afreximbank, His Excellency, Dr. George Elombi. Former President of Afreximbank and Deputy Chair of the Intra-African Trade Fair Advisory Council, Mr. Jean-Louis Ekra. The Secretary General of the AFCFTA Secretariat is not here today, His Excellency Wamkele Mene, but he is represented today by Ms. Cynthia Nasibe Esonam, Senior Advisor for the AFCFTA Secretariat. I would also like to recognize the presence of the African Union Commissioner for Economic Development, Trade, Tourism, Industry, and Minerals, Her Excellency Francisca Tachup Belobe. Also present with us, we have the Executive Vice President for Intra-African Trade and Export Development for Afreximbank, Mrs. Kanayo Awani. Please permit me also to recognize all excellencies and dignitaries present. There are many captains of industry here with us and members of the private sector, all protocols observed. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. On behalf of the African Export-Import Bank, Afreximbank, and in collaboration with the African Union Commission and the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat, it is my honor and privilege to warmly welcome you to this important ceremony marking the host country agreement signing for the Intra-African Trade Fair 2027. It's a good time to clap, thank you. My name is Folu Storms, and I will be the MC for today's event. Now, today's ceremony marks a significant milestone as the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria formally signs the host country agreement to host what will be the 5th edition of the Intra-African Trade Fair, Iatf 2027, right here in Lagos, Nigeria. The Intra-African Trade Fair is Africa's premier platform that is dedicated to promoting intra-African trade, investment, and market integration. It brings together governments, businesses, investors, and entrepreneurs from all across the continent and beyond. Organized by Afreximbank in collaboration with the African Union Commission and the AFCFTA Secretariat, the fair serves as a critical instrument in advancing the objectives of the African Continental Free Trade Area, creating a marketplace where African products, services, and opportunities can truly connect. Since its launch, the Intra-African Trade Fair has demonstrated the immense potential of African markets. At the most recent edition, we were honored to welcome 20 heads of state and government leaders, more than 2,100 exhibitors, and over 100,000 visitors who joined us both physically and virtually from 132 participating countries. We proudly showcased 70 country pavilions, unlocking over $49 billion in trade and investment deals. Now, these achievements reflect the collective vision of all our leaders and institutions to strengthen Africa's economic integration, to deepen our regional value chains, and to unlock new opportunities for African businesses. So today's signing, therefore, represents not only the formal commitment of Nigeria to host IATF 2027, but also a renewed continental commitment to building stronger trade and investment connections across Africa. And Nigeria's role as host reflects its position as one of Africa's largest and most dynamic economies, and its continued leadership in advancing regional trade and economic cooperation. We are deeply honored by the presence of your excellencies and all our distinguished guests, whose support continues to drive this important continental initiative. So once again, we warmly welcome you to this historic occasion. And so to begin, Please join us in celebrating the spirit of African trade and unity through the Intra-African Trade Fair song.
It's a new day. It's a new beginning. Higher grounds we're lifting up. Nothing holds us bound. Can you see it? The light of Africa is rising to higher grounds. We're lifting up. Nothing holds us bound. So come on and come on. We call on, oh Africa, come let us build a dream for all. Together we grow stronger and united. Paint out the sky with the bright colors of your flag and say goodbye to the darkness of the past. We're stepping forward, we're rising up. Oh Africa, our time is now. Break down the chains, plant the lines that separate, and shine a light on the things that make us great. We're stepping forward, we're rising up. Oh Africa, our time is now. Oh, 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 yeah. We know we got that power. Africa, we are strong. One nation to another. See now we stand as one to celebrate our victory. Riches and glory of the motherland, and nothing holds us bound. So come on and come on. We call on, oh Africa, come let us build a dream for stronger and united. Paint out the sky with the bright colors of your flag and say goodbye to the darkness of the past. We're stepping forward, we're rising up. Oh Africa, our time is now. Break down the chains, plant the lines that separate, shine a light on the things that make us great. We're stepping forward, we're rising up. Oh Africa, our time is now. Oh, 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 oh,
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, that anthem reminds us that trade is the heartbeat of our integration. And to date, the Intra-African Trade Fair has already facilitated over $74 billion in trade and investment deals across its previous editions. But to share the vision behind this success, it is my honor to invite a leader whose Pan-African commitment is legendary to deliver the opening remarks. Please make welcome to the stage the former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the Chairperson of the Iatf Advisory Council, His Excellency, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo.
This is good. For me, it is really good. It also gives me a nostalgic feeling. When I was being conducted round this morning, I remember I was conducted round 50 years ago. With the same building. Your Excellency, Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, CON, Governor of Lagos State. I hope 50 years from now you will also be here. Honorable Minister, Dr. Jumake Oduwole, MFR, Federal Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment. Her Excellency, Balika Mbete, my sister, former Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency, Dr. George Elumbi, President and Chairman of Board of Directors of Afreximbank, my brother and friend Jean-Louis Ekra, former President of Afreximbank, and my able Deputy Chair. Her Excellency, Francisca Tashup Elobe, AU Commissioner for Economic Development, Trade, Tourism, Industry, and Minerals. Mrs. Kanayo Awani, Executive Vice President, Intra-Africa Trade and Export Development, Afreximbank. Captains of industry, members of private sector, other members of the Council, Advisory Council, and the Nigerian government side of the Advisory Council. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen. A very good afternoon after a very sumptuous lunch, which I was eyeing, but I didn't take part in. You've chosen a wrong time for this, but try it next month. I will beat you to it. It is with considerable pleasure that I extend a warm welcome to this distinguished assembly for the formal signing of Iatf 2027 hosting agreement with the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This occasion marks a significant milestone, as this agreement will formally confer the right to Nigeria to host the 5th edition of the Intra-African Trade Fair in 2027, Iatf 2027. This prominent event is slated to take place from the 5th to the 11th of November 2027 in this magnificent and historical rich metropolis, a dynamic nexus of commerce, art and culture, trade and finance, renowned and the Center of Excellence. Bringing IATF 2027 to Lagos also has historic relevance because this is where African leaders signed the Lagos Plan of Action for the Economic Development of Africa, 1980 to 2000, which sought to reduce reliance on raw material extraction, promote industrialization and global equality and equity in trade relations, and increase Africa's self-sufficiency and self-reliance. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Advisory Council, let me convey profound congratulations to His Excellency Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Honorable Minister, Dr. Jumake Oduwole, MRF, Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, and to His Excellency Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, CON, Governor of Lagos State, along with all members of the Nigerian government and the private sector, whose collective efforts were instrumental in bringing this agreement to fruition. Your unwavering dedication and diligent work have culminated in our convening today for the pivotal event, securing Nigeria's successful bid to host the 5th edition of the Intra-African Trade Fair. I wish to reaffirm the commitment of the IATF 2027 Advisory Council, of which I am the chairman, in collaboration with our partners and the host country Nigeria, to orchestrate an exceptionally successful 5th edition of the Intra-African Trade Fair here in Lagos, Nigeria. It is imperative that through the IATF, we endeavor to elevate our standards and achievements as we advance towards realizing our developmental aspirations, as outlined in the African Union's Agenda 2063, the Africa we want, and in achieving the objective of fostering continental integration within a unified marketplace presented by the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. We have to work hard to keep moving towards the Africa we want. IATF is one of the instruments we must use to achieve the desirable objective. In light of Nigeria's demonstrated enthusiasm for hosting IATF 2027, and we saw a little bit of that enthusiasm today during our meeting, I extend my profound optimism for the forthcoming continental event of global significance, and I am confident that IATF 2027 will surpass all previous editions in both scope and impact. But let me say this. On 2 occasions in the past, we were not prepared for wet weather alternative. And at the 11th hour, we had to scramble for hosting community. I believe that we should include wet weather alternative in our plan for this meeting. But again, let me state the assurance that the minister gave to us that we will not need a wet weather alternative for Iatf 2027 that will take place in Lagos. Thank you once again, and I look forward to seeing you at Iatf 2027 here in Lagos as we continue this journey of African economic renaissance together. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Beyond commodities and industrial goods, Africa's greatest export is its brilliance. The creative economy, or the orange economy, well, it's projected to create about 20 million jobs across the continent by 2030. And this next presentation, it highlights CANEX, an initiative that proves African culture is not just our heritage, but it is a powerful engine for trade. So can I respectfully ask you to turn your attention to the screen as we will now view a short video highlighting the CANEX Weekend 2026.
This November, Global Africa creates, Africa connects, Nigeria leads. Welcome to CANEX Weekend 2026, where one people, united in culture, creating for the world, becomes more than a theme. It becomes a movement. Convened by African Export-Import Bank, Afreximbank, in collaboration with the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the African Union Commission, and the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat.
Let us build the conditions so that when they tell an audience, Accra, Nairobi, Kinshasa, or Aswan says, I want to be a creator, the parents, the grown-ups, the village community can say, good, there is a system for that.
This is the continent's largest gathering of creatives and cultural industry leaders. Global Africa's creativity knows no limits. And now, Afreximbank through CANEX is structuring that talent into thriving industries for a new chapter in our creative economy. CANEX Weekend 2026 will connect talent, investment, and opportunity, unlocking new pathways for Africa's creative industries. CANEX Weekend bridges borders, connecting Africa to the world.
Now, the vibrancy of our creative sector is matched only by the scale of our market. With the AFCFTA, we are building the world's largest free trade area, a single market of over 1.3 billion people. Over 1.3 billion people, with a combined GDP of about $3.5 trillion. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, we will now hear remarks from our key institutional partners who continue to play a critical role in advancing Africa's trade integration. I will introduce our first speaker, representing His Excellency Wamkele Mene, please make welcome to the stage Cynthia Nasibe Esonem, Director, Private Sector Engagement and Communications for the AFCFTA Secretariat. Please make her welcome to the stage.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please permit me to stand on the protocol already established. It is a pleasure and an honor for me to join you today for the signing of the hosting agreement for the Intra-Africa Trade Fair 2027 on behalf of His Excellency Wamkele Mene, who couldn't make it today. Today's ceremony marks an important milestone in our collective efforts to advance the objectives of the African Continental Free Trade Area. The AFCFTA, as you all know, represents one of the most ambitious economic integration initiatives ever undertaken on our continent. Its success will depend not only on the adoption of rules and agreements, but also on our to create practical platforms that enable African businesses to trade with one another. The Intra-Africa Trade Fair is definitely one of such platforms. Over the years, the Intra-Africa Trade Fair has established itself as Africa's premier marketplace for trade and investment. It brings together manufacturers, exporters, investors, policymakers, and entrepreneurs from across Africa and the diaspora, strengthening the economic bridges that connect Africa to global markets, capital, and innovation. More importantly, it provides the space where African supply meets African demand. For the AFCFTA Secretariat, initiatives such as the Iatf are essential because they help translate the AFCFTA from a legal framework into real commercial activity. They help African businesses discover markets, establish partnerships, and participate in emerging regional value chains. Ultimately, the success of the AFCFTA will depend on the dynamism and innovation of African businesses and platforms such as the Iatf that help connect the private sector to opportunities across the continent. Our collective objective under the AFCFTA is clear. We must build integrated regional value chains, support industrial development, and expand opportunities for African small and medium-sized enterprises. It is equally important that these opportunities reach women entrepreneurs, youth innovators, young innovators, and emerging enterprises that represent the future of Africa's economy. At a time when global supply chains are being reconfigured and countries are seeking more resilient production networks, Africa has an opportunity to strengthen its own regional value chains. Platforms such as the Iatf, again, can help African businesses connect with one another, identify new markets, and build the partnerships necessary to support industrial development across the continent. I wish to commend Afreximbank, whose leadership and vision have been central to the development and growth of this important initiative. I also acknowledge the continued partnership of the African Union Commission, the host governments, and the many private sector actors who contribute to making the trade fair a success. The participation of the Advisory Council and its distinguished members under the leadership of our great Baba will definitely continue to help to provide the strategic guidance to ensure that Iatf 2027 delivers great outcomes for African businesses. Nigeria's hosting of the Intra-Africa Trade Fair 2027 is both timely and significant. Nigeria is a major economic anchor on the continent and a key participant in the AFCFTA implementation. Lagos, as one of Africa's most dynamic commercial and financial centers, provides an ideal environment for an event of this scale and importance. We are confident that Nigeria will host a successful and impactful trade fair that reflects the ambition of the AFCFTA and the aspirations of African businesses. So as we sign this hosting agreement today, we also begin an important work, which is the preparation of Iatf 2027. Our ambition should be to ensure that the trade fair expands participation from African enterprises, strengthens connections across African markets, and catalyzes meaningful trade and investment partnerships. Ultimately, the success of the AFCFTA will be measured by the extent to which African businesses trade more with one another and create jobs and prosperity for our people. Allow me to once again congratulate the government and people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for their commitment to hosting the Intra-Africa Trade Fair 2027. The AFCFTA Secretariat looks forward to working closely with all partners to ensure the success of this important event. Together, we will continue to advance our shared vision of an integrated, industrialized, and prosperous Africa. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you. And now I'd like to welcome to the stage the African Union Commissioner for Economic Development, Trade, Tourism, Industry, and Minerals, Her Excellency Francisca Tachup Belobe. Please make her welcome to the stage.
Good afternoon, everybody. I will also want to stand on the observed protocol so that we do not waste time. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure to join you today on the occasion of the signature of the Convention for the Implementation and Organization of the Inter-Trade Fair with the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I wish to extend my heartfelt appreciation to Afreximbank for the excellent travel and logistical arrangements, and to the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for the warm hospitality and courtesy accorded to myself and my delegation since our arrival. As this ceremony takes place the day after the commemoration of the International Women's Day, please allow me to wish and extend my best wishes to all women attendants. It is a profound honor to address this assembly as we gather today. We aren't just planning an event, we are working towards turning the IFTA into one of the most significant marketplaces on the planet. When we launched the Iatf in 2018, it was a bold experiment in connectivity. It was not only a commercial event, but rather a strategic tool to increase intra-African trade, which remains stubbornly low. Data from Afreximbank 2025 Inter-African Trade Report show that despite a sharp increase in intra-African trade in 2024 to US $220 billion from US $196 billion in 2023 and $208 billion in 2022, inter-African trade share a total African trade has instead declined from 16.3% to 14.5% in 2024. This underperformance is a great concern for us. It shows that despite the signing of the AFCA by 54 EU member states and ratification by 50 of them, the conclusion and adoption of various protocols to support trade under the AFCA, as well as existence of several regional trade arrangements, African countries are still slow in prioritizing intra-African trade to harness the opportunity created by AFCA. Africa's low intra-African trade also underscores the continent's continued dependence on external demand and revenue and exposure to commodity shocks, which is a major preoccupation at the time when the old global trade and economic global order is unraveling. Africa cannot remain a passive witness in this context. We should leverage the power of the Iatf to turn the tides. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as we prepare for the fourth edition of the Iatf, one major question is how to ensure that Iatf propels inter-African trade and helps Africa reposition itself in the global trade landscape. In this respect, I wish to point out three directions. The first direction is in respect of the non-tariff barriers and securities concerns that continue to hinder intra-African trade. At the African Union, we are very much aware of these preoccupations and recommend that they should stand high on the agenda of the Trade and Investment Forum during the IFTA 2027. At the same time, I call upon EU member states to take advantage of technological innovation and digitalization to accelerate the simplification of their investment, import and export procedures to align the domestic legalization to continental policies and regulations. We must harmonize our standards, simplify our visa regimes for business travelers, and ensure that the Pan-African payment and settlement systems increasingly become the default language of our trade transactions. One critical area in my department is working on, in close collaboration with all stakeholders, is quality infrastructure and standards. Specifically, the development of the Made in Africa label. This is important to ensure seamless flow of goods, minimize supply chains disruptions among African economies, and accelerating the development of regional value chains. We expect to roll out the pilot phase by this year. The second direction is the need for a comprehensive analysis of top-performing specific sectors of intra-African trade, with a view to strategically promoting those sectors during the EITF 2027. This approach will help us ensure efficient allocation of resources to the promotion of sectors that already have great potential and can yield quick outcomes in a short period of time. I commend that the IATF Secretariat, ourselves, and other advisory council members should work on this and report as soon as possible so that it can be taken into recommendation for the upcoming IATF. The third direction is to prioritize industrialization, technological innovation, and digitalization. This required promoting investment and industrial development, as well as digital infrastructure to enhance production and productivity. As rightly observed, ladies and gentlemen, by several research, one of Africa's main weaknesses is the absence of local production capacity and technological limitations. Africa's lowest digital penetration is often overlooked, yet digitalization is a key factor of competitiveness in today's economy. One key issue I wish to emphasize in respect to productivity is human capacity development, which should be central element of the Iatf Research and Innovation Hub. In effect, despite having the youngest population, Africa still lacks a workforce with the required skills in several sectors. We are familiar with stories of African industrialists having to outsource skills from outside the continent to run their businesses. This is a missed opportunity for Africa. Africa's demographic dividend is only an engine of trade and economic growth if it is armed with the appropriate set of skills required for the 21st century. Let us therefore prioritize on human capacity development at Iatf 2027, with specific dedicated sessions at the Trade and Investment Forum. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, let me underscore the need for tangible outcomes from our various initiatives. Whilst I'm pleased that the Iatf has grown, I am pleased that the Iatf has grown from strength to strength over the last years, including from 1,086 registered exhibitors and $32.4 billion of trade and investment deals concluded during Iatf 2018 to 2,148 exhibitors and 48 billion in trade and investment businesses deals at Iatf 2025 in Algiers. A lot still needs to be done, as exemplified by the current low level of intra-African trade discussed at the beginning of my statement. We should therefore aim very high in 2027, especially as Iatf takes place in Nigeria, the most populated African country, which ranks amongst the top 3 African largest economies, and is home to many of the African billionaires, high net worth individuals, innovators, musicians, startups, and so on. We at the African Union Commission reaffirm our unwavering commitment to work in a collaborative manner with all the members of the Advisory Council to make the Iatf 2027 an event that will ignite a new momentum for Africa's investment, industrialization, and trade with herself in the context of the Africa and the rest of the world. More specifically, we will enhance our African Union Youth Startup Pavilion, a major vertical of Iatf, and strengthen the participation of African women in processing. Through the Iatf, we are building the Africa we want. Let us mark Iatf 2027 a defining moment in this journey. I wish all of us a successful meeting signature ceremony, and we wish a lot of luck and success to the Iatf 2027. Thank you so much.
Excellency. And now I would like to welcome to the stage the President and Chairman of the Board of Directors of Afreximbank, His Excellency, Dr. George Elombi. Please make him welcome.
Baba, I have to thank you for the very comprehensive protocol. And like everyone else, and in the true tradition in Nigeria, I also asked to stand on that protocol. It was so extensive that any attempt by me, even to repeat it, would lead to too many errors, which I think the governor will not pardon me for. But perhaps I should also mention the distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the press, of the African press, who are here with us. The intra-African trade fair is yours. It's no one else's but yours. You have to find the ways on your press coverage, in your social media, or perhaps we should begin to call it your comprehensive media, because it gets it out to everyone, that this message gets to the kitchens, to the bedrooms, to the stalls and workshops of Africa. And so when an elephant is seen or sighted, it is usually unmistakable. And when we proclaimed Nigeria as the next host of the Intra-African Trade Fair, we all knew an elephant had been sighted, and a very mighty one at that. It's a nation with a very vibrant entrepreneurial spirit. We immediately concluded that, much like the Afreximbank annual meetings held in Abuja in June of last year, the success of our Iatf, the Intra-African Trade Fair in Lagos in 2027, was already assured. What remained was the hard work to realize it, Honorable Minister. Someone had to deliver the elephant to us. Someone had to deliver Nigeria. For that, we required an equally mighty elephant, and that was in the person of the head of state, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu. To him, we owe our utmost gratitude, and to him we owe so much for what we look forward as a very successful IATF at the end of 2027. Since assuming office, he has demonstrated a clear commitment to the success of Afreximbank itself. He did it in his engagements with my predecessor, our own brother, Professor Rama, just before I took office, and with me, myself, soon after I did. We therefore knew that President Tinubu would deliver the elephant. That is why we are here today. Yet, we still needed some eyes capable of recognizing the elephant. So we borrowed the eyes of the Honorable Dr. Jumoke Aduole, Minister of Industry, of Trade and Investment. When we seemed, and the Council seemed at one point to waver a little about the decision to host the next fair in Nigeria, she kept our focus firmly on Lagos and Nigeria. When we pretended not to see the elephant, she ensured that we heard the sound of its trumpets and the tremor of its footsteps, and that this could not be ignored. We are particularly grateful to you, Honorable Minister, for the character and the sense of purpose you brought in ensuring that IATF 2027 came to Lagos. We've had a little doubt here and there, some of which was expressed this morning by none other than Baba himself. But we trust and we have faith in your convictions, for convictions alone have brought Afreximbank to where it is. The IATF itself, too, is a clan, a massive clan. Sometimes we call it a tribe. A clan or a tribe of those who are committed and willing to make sacrifices, very often extremely personal sacrifices. And that's a clan that wants to see strong growth in intra-African trade and the transformation of global Africa. Among us today is the chief elder of that clan. That's Baba himself, who spoke to you a little later. He's been chairing the council, the Intra-African Trade Advisory Council. It was to him the duty to proclaim the elephant. And being an elephant man himself, he did it with fanfare. And he saw the elephant long before the rest of us did. He proclaimed it even before we had started searching. To you, Baba, we convey our deepest gratitude for your sacrifices in accepting the personal toll this takes on you. In the interest of our continent, you have accepted every now and again that we, the young men, we knock you to the left, you go left, and we knock you to the right, you go right. We say march forward, and you say here we go, and if so long as that's in the interest of our continent. So when we organize IATF here in Lagos next year, Afreximbank would, within 3 years, have hosted 3 flagship events in Nigeria. The Afreximbank annual meetings in June last year, which attracted over 6,000 high-level delegates. The CANEX weekend in Lagos in November next year, reaching out to Africa's youth, Africa's entrepreneurs, the creative sector, and digital innovators. That event will attract close to 10,000 participants. And finally, this IATF we've been speaking about, which would bring over 100,000 delegates to Lagos. We know that Lagos cannot wait to receive this very vibrant community of Africans. These are signs of a people and a government prepared to embrace all African causes with passion. The intra-African trade is creating a very strong Pan-African single market. Our collective duty is to use the platform to grow that trade and investment across the continent and to boost intra-African trade beyond the figures which the Trade Commissioner for the African Union stated a few minutes ago. Those figures are low, and I remember Baba setting a target of 25% for us to achieve within 5 years. We still have 3 years to go, Baba, to get to that level. So perhaps we'll get there very soon. Over the last 4 editions, the IATF generated an average of $40 billion in trade and projects. Behind these numbers, there were real stories of transformation. At the IATF 2021, a young Nigerian innovator, Ndubisi Arinze, Eze, he was the CEO of Aerial Industries. He was discovered by a Singaporean investor at this trade fair. Today, Arinze designs and produces drones that are revolutionizing farming across the world. the trade fair did not only change the life of a young man, but it also improves the lives of a family, a community, and above all, it improved the integrity of the African, the image of the African across the world. These are the stories that demonstrate that the true value of the connections made at the trade fair. I'm confident that the event here in Nigeria will surpass the $50 billion in business generated and foster even more successful partnerships, boost intra-African trade and investment, and create jobs for our people. The Iatf places our transformation, Africa's own transformation, in our own hands, in the hands of Africa. It is now our duty to convert the 50 billion in Algeria's into opportunities, into 50 billion in executable transactions. We will be forced to look beyond the funfair and to look beyond the glamour and the excitement that the event will bring to Lagos. The real opportunities lie in expanding value addition to Africa's natural resources, to meeting our basic needs from within the continent, to building domestic and regional value chains, creating jobs, building wealth for our people, and increasing government revenues. These must be our foremost objectives, and to those objectives, we at Afreximbank remain very strongly committed. Now, Mr. Governor, Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Lagos State, by hosting this fair at this very critical moment, when we must increasingly look inwards for resources of growth, you will also be cementing the legacy of our compatriots, of your own compatriots. This initiative, called the Intra-African Trade Fair, was a response to what African leaders called for at the first ordinary summit of African heads of states in Addis Ababa. Many of those heads of states, Baba, they still live when you took over as a military leader and you met many of them. But that initiative only took root when one of your own sons, Mr. Governor, your brother and your very dear friend, I know that, Professor Orama, when he decided to embark on that initiative. And to him, Africa remains extremely deeply grateful. And it was, after he initiated it, championed by a Nigerian daughter, our own Executive Vice President, Kanayo Awani, who is here today in this hall, somewhere to my right. She has traveled across Africa, down to the Caribbean, to what we call Global Africa, promoting the values of the trade fair and this continent's integration. And it was endowed with its unique African and international character. The trade fair was endowed with that character by Baba himself. So, Mr. Governor, you have to embrace this initiative from your stomach. It's not about thinking. The thinking has been done. There's no scope again for reflecting. It's about moving, and we want Lagos moving. We know what Lagos can do when it wants to move. We've seen it. We see it every now and again, every December. So we know what it is exactly that you can do when you want to move Lagos. This gives a unique stature to Lagos and to the country. This is a country of resolute capitalists, of people who are entrepreneurial to the core, They are driven by the passion for success. A country whose people have carried Africa's trade and carried Africa's culture and Africa's innovation and Africa's dynamism across global borders. A country whom I know from my own personal experience, whose citizens have made Africa's cause theirs. Our plea to you, therefore, Mr. Governor, is to ensure that all your peers, your brothers, the governors of all the 36 states, that the men and women, producers and traders, entrepreneurs from all 36 states, from those places in Nigeria which have become famous across Africa for their pioneering efforts in trade, those from Alaba, just not too far here in Lagos itself, those from Kano and Abar, and those from Onitsha and Newe in the east of Nigeria, to make the IATF 2027 a resounding success for Lagos, for Nigeria, and for the dignity of the African. Let me end by thanking you again, Governor, the Honorable Minister, and the federal government, by thanking you and by restating that we remain indebted to you for what promises to be a remarkable event in 2027. It shouldn't be any less than we had in Egypt. It should be twice. That year, 2027, may seem a little distant, but it's much closer than we think. We have some work to do. We also have some work ourselves at Afreximbank with the Lagos State to do. Lagos State working together with your brother in Abeokuta to ensure that something happens in the processing of cotton here. And it's our wish that we tell a slightly different story when we meet you here again, first in November of next year, and then when we meet you to maximize the impact of Africans working together, and when Africans decide to work together as they would in November 2027. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Your Excellency, and all our institutional partners who have spoken. The insight from our partners underscores a vital truth. That is, when Africa trades with Africa, we all win. And Nigeria, as Africa's largest economy, stands at the heart of this transition, bridging the gap between policy and prosperity. But now it is my honor to invite to the stage, representing the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, MFR. Please make her welcome to the stage.
His Excellency, the former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and Chair of the Iatf 2027 Advisory Council, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, GCFR. Ms. Malika Mbete, former Deputy President of South Africa. The Executive Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babachide Olushola Sanwo-Olu, CON, our host governor and his team. Thank you for your partnership and unwavering commitment in this journey. My sister, Her Excellency Francisca Belobe, the Commissioner of Economic Development, Trade, Tourism, Industry, and Minerals of the African Union Commission. Thank you for being here in person and for your support on multiple levels on the continental front. His Excellency Wamkele Mene, Secretary General of the AFCFTA Secretariat, and ably represented today by Ms. Cynthia Ngesbe, Director Partnerships and Private Sector, who has also been a firm supporter of Nigeria. Dr. George Elombi, the President and Chair of the Board of Directors, Afreximbank, and his team, led by my sister, VP Kanayo Awani. Mrs. Adenike Laoye, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Finance and Economy. Mr. Ademola Oshodi, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Foreign Affairs. Mrs. Tola Akirele, DG, CEO, Wole Soyinka Center for Culture and Creative Arts. Mr. Ade Laoye and the entire team responsible for hosting us at this monumental venue today. The Comptroller General of Customs, and several other agency heads here present, from the FMITI family and more, from NEPC to Nexim Bank, to Tafawa Balewa Management Board, to Lagos Trade Fair Complex, to Center for Black and African Arts and Culture, directors of the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, honorable commissioners of Lagos State Government. I saw the Commissioner of Commerce, I saw the Commissioner of Tourism, and other colleagues here present. Private sector leaders and captains of industry. I see several of you. I saw the MD of Fidelity Bank, so many of you. Thank you for your support and for being here today. With you, funding the CANEX and the Iatf 2027 will be a walk in the park. So friends of Nigeria, media partners, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. You will notice that uncharacteristically, I'm perhaps a bit sober and overwhelmed by where I find myself today. And the reason is this. On assumption of office at the beginning of November 2024, I saw a letter on my desk that same week about a bid to host Iatf 2027. The deadline was in 10 days. I called Mr. Governor and I said, I would like us to go for this. It was the very first memo I put into my boss, Mr. President, and he approved it within 24 hours. And so it was with that boldness and courage that I pursued the chair, President Olusegun Obasanjo, who had his doubts. Nigeria, you guys feel kind of big for this kind of thing. Are you serious? I was chasing him all around. Are you serious? But we worked so hard with the Afrexim team, and I want to thank you. VP Kanayo, Gainmo, so many of you. They came on a due diligence around this time last year. The Lagos State team was phenomenal. From the Deputy Chief of Staff to at least 5 commissioners. We went around hotels, hospitals, we looked at the road network, we made presentations, the National Theatre team, Mr. Adelaoye and his colleagues, the Central Bank, so many partners, leading to the announcement of Nigeria's success in September 2025 in Algiers as the host. You should have heard the room explode when the Nigerian flag was put up. And so it is with a great sense of humility and pride, especially after this morning's meeting, and again, a drilling by the chair, and the soberness and the seriousness with which I personally have made the commitment, but not on my own behalf, on behalf of Mr. President and the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So first, on behalf of His Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, I thank the Advisory Board, the African Union Commission, the AFCFTA Secretariat, the Africa Export-Import Bank, and all stakeholders whose commitment has made this moment possible. Nigeria is truly proud to host the Intra-African Trade Fair 2027 in Lagos, Nigeria, the birthplace and the launchpad of African economic integration, a claim I will proudly substantiate. In 1975, 51 years ago, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, the very first regional economic bloc and the model of all other African regional blocs, including the AFCFTA, was founded by Treaty of Lagos. On the 30th of September, 1976, this newly refurbished edifice we sit in today was first commissioned by the then Lieutenant General Olusegun Obasanjo. That is literally half a century ago. We went to the plaque and he asked me, "Honorable Minister, how old were you then?" At least I was born. Some people were not born. That singular event paving the way in 1977 for Nigeria, inspired by the idea of a Pan-African identity, hosting the Festival of Black Arts and Culture, FESTAC 77, in this very building. 3 years later, the Lagos Plan of Action, 1980, asserted Africa's integration and development agenda. So you'll agree with me that Lagos deserves that title. Yes. At that time, some African countries had not yet achieved independence. Nonetheless, African visionaries and pioneers built the foundation and structural frame of a one African market that we have the responsibility of operationalizing in a global era for ourselves and for coming generations. Today, as the international trading system is confronted with questions and assailed by diverse challenges, including unprecedented conflicts, we charge ourselves to remain resolute to the principle of mutually beneficial, rules-based trade. Looking forward to 2027, and as we host Africa's largest marketplace, underscored by the AFCFTA agreement, we have the opportunity to reflect on our reality and design the future of African trade integration and economic transformation. In just 4 editions, the Intra-African Trade Fair has generated more than $167 billion in trade and investment deals. Algeria, our gracious host of the 4th edition, recorded $48.3 billion in transactions alone. As we prepare for Iatf 2027 in Nigeria, we have crossed the 5-year mark since the commencement of the AFCFTA implementation. Nigeria is proud to be the first AFCFTA state party to complete its 5-year implementation review in 2025, an obligation under the agreement, and we have a comprehensive understanding of the reforms, investments, and institutional practices required to fully realize the promise of the AFCFTA. Indeed, this review exercise reminded us that our AFCFTA is expansive, covering goods, services, investment, intellectual property rights, competition policy, and digital trade. We also have a focus on women and youth to ensure that our market is inclusive and to prevent any group from falling behind. The work ahead of us, Nigeria and all AFCFTA state parties, is not only expansive, it is existential for our survival and prosperity. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as we look forward to welcoming the continent to Lagos, please be rest assured that the Iatf 2027 will mark a defining moment in accelerating and transforming intra-African trade and investment. We fully intend not only to exceed the levels of transactions recorded at previous editions of the Iatf. Beyond transactions, we envisage Iatf 2027 as a marketplace that will integrate ideas, relationships, capital, and skill to boldly confront the challenges that impede the full realization of our one global African market. I am pleased to share a few examples of Nigeria's approach to solution. In May 2025, I had the pleasure to launch a dedicated AFCFTA air cargo corridor with Uganda Air for Nigerian goods exports. This corridor ensures that Nigerian goods exports to Eastern and Southern Africa reach buyers quickly and cost-effectively. Similarly, as co-champion of the AFCFTA Protocol on Digital Trade, Nigeria convened an innovative mechanism with Egypt, Ghana, Kenya, Rwanda, and South Africa to pilot solutions for seamless cross-border trade and mobility of digital services. Another Nigeria-led example is the Customs Partnership for African Cooperation and Trade, CPACT, spearheaded by the Nigerian Customs Service, and the CG is here in person, to align customs policy with the ambition of the AFCFTA. If you know, you know. This continental regulatory initiative is harmonizing border procedures and building trust with the business community and is a model for continental public-private cooperation. At the Iatf 2027, Nigeria's creativity, commitment to continental economic integration, sophistication, and resilience will be deployed for the full benefit of our shared ambition of a one African market. We look forward to working with all partners to curate a marketplace that hosts the best of African innovation in traditional goods and services, digital economy, manufacturing and creative economy, infrastructure development, agriculture, mining, to name only a few sectors. The Iatf 2027 will incubate systemic infrastructure and regulatory solutions that unlock a prosperous, integrated, and transformed Africa, and that connects us to global markets. On November 5th, 2026, we will reconvene for the launch of CANEX Weekend 2026, a pivotal moment to unlock Africa's creative economy as a powerful engine of growth. Across the continent, the creative sector contributed approximately $310 billion to GDP in 2022, employing close to 12 million people, more than half of them under the age of 35. Nigeria's creative economy was estimated at approximately $25 billion in 2025, and the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has set an ambitious target to grow the sector's contribution to $100 billion in GDP and create 2 million new jobs by 2030. This transformation is being driven by our young creatives with the global explosion of Afrobeats, the international rise of Nollywood, and the emergence of trailblazing Nigerian fashion design and media companies that are shaping global culture. As we approach the golden jubilee of Festac 77 in 2027, the Center for Black and African Arts and Civilization has launched its countdown initiative, Road to Festac 77 at 50, and the managing director is here as well. This important initiative seeks to reignite the spirit of Pan-African unity, creativity, and cultural resilience that redefined that historical gathering half a century ago. This endeavor not only celebrates our shared heritage, but also aligns seamlessly with the Creative Art Africa Nexus, CANEX, empowering African artists and entrepreneurs to harness their talents for global markets while bolstering the Inter-African Trade Fair by fostering intercontinental trade with cultural goods and services, driving economic growth, job creation, and sustainable development across our beloved continent. Let us march together on this road to a brighter, more prosperous Africa. So today, let us be reminded and let us count this moment as the moment we united in purpose once again in Lagos, Nigeria, as a continent of shared ambition, collective resolve, determined to align our markets, our industries, and our talent for lasting impact. Together, we will power and deliver the future we want. Thank you for your kind attention, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for the history lesson, as well as the vision that you have outlined, which is already yielding tangible results. So let's take a moment, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, guests still standing on all existing protocol. Let's take a moment to watch a short video highlighting the impact and the vision of the Intra-African Trade Fair.
This is where Africa connects. This is where Africa builds. This is where Africa trades. But in 2025, something shifted. Iatf 2025 was not simply a gathering of nations. It was a demonstration of Africa's economic will. Iatf 2025 welcomed 20 heads of state and government leaders, standing together not for ceremony, but for commitment. A commitment to intra-Africa trade, to integration, to industrialization, to implementation. More than 2,100 exhibitors, more than 110,000 attendees, both physical and online. 132 countries represented, 80 country pavilions showcased. But scale was not the accomplishment, transformation was. Across exhibition halls and meeting rooms, manufacturing met markets, investors met innovators. Pathways to exports were obtained by SMEs. Buyers discovered competitive African production. And the result, $49.94 billion in trade and investment deals. Not intentions, signed agreements, not projections, activated pipelines. Production lines expanded, distribution networks crossed borders, regional value chains strengthened, businesses gained access to new markets. Investments moved from negotiation to execution. Jobs were supported. Industrial capacity scaled. It was not only the volume of trade that changed. What changed was velocity. Africa began trading with itself on a larger scale. Under the leadership of Afreximbank in partnership with the African Union and the AFC-FTA Secretariat, the IATF is more than a trade fair. It is an instrument of continental integration, an engine accelerating the implementation of the AFC-FTA, a platform translating policy into transactions. The gateway did not simply open. It began moving goods, capital, partnerships, opportunity. And this is only the beginning. Now we look to Lagos, Nigeria, not as the next edition, but as the next stride forward. IATF 2027 represents a deeper phase of trade acceleration, greater industrial participation, expanded regional value chains, stronger SME integration, larger deal pipelines, and broader global engagement with African production. IATF 2027 will not repeat 2025. It will build upon it, and the world will once again witness a continent rising together. IATF 2027, the next chapter.
It's phenomenal. And now, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived at the central moment of today's ceremony. The host country agreement signing represents the formal commitment between the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and African Export-Import Bank, Afrexim, in collaboration with the African Union Commission and the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat to host what will be the 5th edition of the Intra-African Trade Fair, IATF 2027, right here in Lagos, Nigeria. This agreement reflects a shared commitment to advancing intra-African trade, strengthening regional value chains, and supporting the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area. Through this partnership, Nigeria will host a platform that brings together African and global businesses, investors and institutions, creating opportunities for trade, investment, and economic transformation across the continent. So may I now respectfully invite the designated representatives of the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, in the person of the Honorable Minister, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, MFR, who is representing the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I would also like to invite to the stage African Export-Import Bank, representing the African Export-Import Bank, His Excellency Dr. George Elombi, President and Chairman of the Board of Directors of Afreximbank, representing the African Union Commission, Her Excellency Francisca Tachup Belobe, the AU Commissioner for Economic Development, Trade, Tourism, Industry, and Minerals, and of course, the AFCFTA Secretariat, representing today His Excellency Wamkele Mene, the Secretary General. Please make welcome to the stage Cynthia Nasibe Esonam, apologies, the Director, Private Sector Engagement and Communications. May I ask all the parties to please proceed to the stage? I would also like to invite to witness the signing the former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and Chairperson of the IATF, His Excellency Chief Olusegun Obasanjo. I would also like to invite to the stage the Executive Governor of Lagos State in the person of Mr. Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu. I would like to invite to the stage as well the former President of Afrexim and Deputy Chair of the Intra-African Trade Fair Advisory Council, Mr. Jean-Louis Ekra, to the stage. And I would like to invite to the stage as well the Vice President for Intra-African Trade and Export Development at Afreximbank, Mrs. Kanayo Awani. Please, a round of applause. This is a historic moment indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, a massive round of applause, please. May I ask all parties to stand for final photographs and just remain standing for final photographs? A historic moment. Thank you so much, members of the press. A massive round of applause. A historic commitment has been sealed here. And while this is a continental agreement, its heart for 2027 will beat right here in Lagos. As the 5th largest economy on the continent, if it were a country, Lagos is the natural gateway for the Made in Africa revolution. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, it is now my pleasure to invite His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Lagos State, Governor Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, to deliver his special remarks on this historic occasion. Please make him welcome. Thank you, sir. You couldn't escape. Please. Please.
I think let's give them a big round of applause again. Thank you very much. The former president of this great country, our father, our leader, President Olusegun Obasanjo, GCFR, the man who almost 50 years ago also saw the birth of this incredible edifice, a place where we are today, a man that has history, and we're thankful that God continues to give him the grace of life. Let's give Baba a big round of applause again. Through you, sir, let me acknowledge all of the protocols that have been well laid down for me to not to run out of crisis and to say that all protocols duly observed. Today is a day after the International Women's Day. It's the 9th of March, 2026. And if not that they had three other men and a woman to join on the signing ceremony, there were 3 ladies that were signing there with only just the president of Afreximbank. It goes to show that our women are not just taking over. They're in the position of leadership, and we're indeed happy that even today, while we're celebrating that, it's been reflective on this table here today. And that is the spirit of Africa. That is the spirit of what we've done here today, both the AFTDA and the IFT 2027. That is the spirit that I want all of us to live here with a belief and with a resolution that if we can dream it, then we can do it. And the Nigerian and African story will certainly not be lost if there's no Lagos story in it. It started, like our Honorable Minister said, several decades ago, where Lagos has taken its rightful place. And she had said the story as into when the letter came up onto her table and she had to take the hard decision. She made the phone call and she said to me that I'm shaving your head in your absence. I'm going to be committing to something in Lagos and you have to be with me on this. And of course I said, let's go ahead, we will do it. We will do it knowing fully well. We'll do it knowing fully well that it is a time for Africa to take its rightful place in the global stage. And if we're indeed serious about that, the likes of what Afrexim and what the EU and African Commission have birthed for us, the minimum we can do as a government is to continue to validate that. And so I want to assure you that the CANEX event coming up in Lagos later in the year will be a masterpiece. It will be one of the biggest that you have seen, because you know that Lagos is not just a commercial economic nerve center of our country. It's the entertainment capital of Africa, and we will bring it to the fullness of it. You will see a CANEX that you've never seen before, and we will be true with our promise. And come the big one, Iatf 2027, we will ensure that not only do we put our best foot forward, we will not disappoint all of you. Baba, you'll be alive and strong. We will not disappoint you. And that disappointment is scheduled on the promise and the commitment of Mr. President himself, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who you know too well had run this state at some point in time. And so it's still the energy and the spirit of Lagos that he's taking to the federal government. And he has given both the minister and ourselves the marching order to ensure that next year, at the Iatf 2027, Nigeria represents Africa very well, and I'll be doing it with everything that we have. So I want to assure all of you that in my PRC, all the dots have not been fully crossed or have not been fully knit together. We will ensure that the dots, the T's are crossed and the I's are dots very well. And the event that we have seen here today, which is the signing, the country signing, we will do everything possible to ensure that it will also be the best IATF that we've seen on the continent of Africa. And so on behalf of the people and the government of Nigeria, we're excited, we're happy that you have given us this responsibility, and indeed Lagos will be playing host to these two big events. Thank you very, very much, and it is an honor that we're part of this great event here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you for that. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as we conclude today's ceremony, we leave here with more than just a signed document. We leave here with a roadmap that is clear in vision and scope. IATF 2027 in Lagos will not just be a trade fair. It will be a marketplace of the future. On behalf of the federal government of Nigeria, Afreximbank, the African Union Commission, and the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat, thank you, sincere thank you to each and every one of you for being witnesses to this history. And so, as we mentioned earlier, we're not just about trade, we're about our people. And we have some excellent people coming up to entertain us right now. As we welcome the National Troupe for a special cultural performance, I also invite the members of the press following the performance to join the press briefing area. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Folu Storms. It has been my distinct pleasure and honor to be here as the MC for you today. But please, a massive round of applause for the National Troupe.
Igbo kwenu. Cha Igbo kwenu. Egwemo. Na ige nebu egoma. Na ige gwebu egoma.
Before that the Africa from the north resilient, home innovation, home. How blessed we are to host the 2027 International Trade Fair. Not just an event, but a statement that says we are ready, we are capable, we are prepared. From Kenya to Morocco, from South Africa to Egypt, from Nigeria to Ghana. This is the Africa our ancestors dreamed of. This is the Africa our children deserve. An agreement of free trade and the there. One market, one Africa, one future.
Choosing your battle, pick yourself up and dust yourself off and back in the saddle. You're on the front line, everyone's watching. You know it's serious, we're getting closer, this isn't over. The pressure's on, you feel it, but you got it all, believe it. When you fold it up, oh, and if you fold it up, tamina, sangalewa, cause this is Africa. Tamina, waka, waka, tamina, sangalewa. This time for Africa. I'm on a journey, biggie, mama, one A to Z. My sister's on a journey, biggie, mama, from east to west. Party, waka, waka, my waka, waka, my and this is the Mazibu, yeah. But this is Africa. Samina,
gentlemen, that concludes today's ceremony. Once more, I invite the press to the briefing area, the press briefing area where the advisory council was held. You can make your way there. For everyone else, thank you once more for attending. Feel free to join us for networking and cocktails after. Thank you so much, distinguished guests. Good afternoon.
Welcome back from the live telecast. We'll now continue with our regular programs. Stay tuned.
Women's football. She's live on the program from Canada at this time. Thank you so much for being a part of the show, Ife. Women's football in Iran has been under conditions not good enough for the sport, where players are compelled to wear hijab, even under unfavorable conditions. How do you react to the Iranian national team's decision to ignore the national anthem at the Asian Cup? How strong is their message?